let's explore this sutra, how beautifully he has connected the Shankara and Ramanuja philosophies, the head and the heart. How beautifully he starts from where people are and leads them to the ultimate experience. All the Dvaitis, people who speak on duality, they go on condemning Vedantis as Mayavadins, Advaitis as Mayavadis. And all these people who are in the line of Advaita, they go on condemning people who are in the line of Bhakti as Leelavadis. Both of them constantly fight and waste their energy. Here, Shiva is beautifully synthesizing. Not only synthesizing, he is giving the ultimate respect to devotion. He is giving great respect to the path of devotion. I think first master on the planet Earth, maybe last master, to declare the devotion is one of the ultimate technique to become enlightened. And he gives a straight technology also. People who are in the line of devotion, they miss experiencing the ultimate. They just stop with the form, usually. And the people who are in the line of ultimate experience, they miss the juice in the life. They are so dry, so boring. You can't go near them. If you go near them, you will feel depressed. Two extremes. People who are little devotion oriented, they are very juicy guys. They just sing and dance and enjoy. Real juicy people. But the problem, they miss the ultimate experience. They just stop with that. And people who are ultimate goal oriented, the enlightenment oriented, they will be very strong, always sticking to the path. But the big problem is they miss the joy of the life, or the ecstasy, the experience of beautiful devotion. Somehow, nobody was able to connect these two. Fight goes on and on and on. Sometimes it goes to extreme. The other day, one of our devotees was telling me, he was talking to me, Swamiji, after attending the last meditation camp, now I don't feel like meditating on the form is not coming. Only pure energy I am experiencing. Told him, it means really you are blessed by that God or the deity on whom you are meditating. When you meditate on a form, you are meditating on divinity. When you reach the formless energy, you are divinity. You are not meditating on divinity, you are divinity. It's like complementing. It is complementing each other. They are not contradicting. 5,000 years ago, Shiva solved this problem. Not only solved the basic problem, you see, not only he is synthesizing, he is helping you, encouraging you to jump into the ultimate from where you are. The beauty of Sanatana Dharma is, not only they accept you as you are, they give you the jumping pad from wherever you are. You can just take a jump into the quantum experience. You can take a quantum jump into the experience wherever you are standing. That is why I tell people, Sanatana Dharma not only accepts all other dharmas, it welcomes. We don't care, we don't bother. We don't care about where you are standing. We always see the possibility from there, how you can jump, how we can help you to jump into the ultimate. That is why in Sanatana Dharma, we don't have a concept of conversion. We don't believe in conversion. We don't even have the idea about conversion. All you can do, if you go to some enlightened master, all they can do is, they will help you to take the ultimate jump from wherever you are. That's all. No question of conversion. We don't believe in conversion. No ritual to convert is available in Sanatana Dharma. People will be shocked. The oldest religion never had any idea about conversion, because we feel conversion is psychological violence. Psychologically, we are torturing the person by converting him. See, all conversion happens through fear or greed. It is purely based on fear or greed. Either you give him some benefits, or you threaten him that something will be taken away from him. So no conversion is purely spiritual. When it is purely spiritual, there is no need for conversion. The spiritual masters will do this job. The job of giving you a jumping pad to take a quantum jump into conscious experience. Here, Shiva is such a great spiritual master. He is giving you the jumping pad. This is the only book, let me tell you, this is the only book which doesn't have introduction, which doesn't condemn any philosophy. There is no Kandana Mandana. Throughout this book, without Kandana Mandana, I have not read a single Vedantic text. Kandana Mandana means condemning or pulling down the other system. Here, throughout this book, not even in one place, Shiva is condemning any other system. That is why I say, completely he is giving the essence or the pure spiritual truth. This whole book is completely filled with the truth or essence of the spirituality. He is not influenced by any political strategy. He is not influenced by any political system. He is not influenced by any organized religion. He is pure consciousness, available to all of us to take quantum jump into that consciousness. Not even one line is condemning some religion or some system or some truth. One more thing, you can't even say, oh, he is not condemning because there was no other sect or religion at that time, Swamiji. We can't say that because he is giving solution for all the problems. He is giving solution means there must have been all the problems existed. Then otherwise why should he give the solution? He is giving solution. See, the moment you read a book about dropping the addiction, be very clear, in that society addiction was there. Addiction was there. When Patanjali says non-stealing, asteya, is a vow, means there were many thieves at that time. Otherwise, what is the reason for Patanjali to say non-stealing is one of the important vrata? Sarvabhaumya vrataha, asteya, ahimsa, brahmacharya, asteya, aparigraha, and satya. When he gives this type of vows, we should be very clear, the problem existed. Here, when Shiva gives solution for the problem, we should know problem existed. But he is such a wonderful being, such an amazing expression of enlightenment. Even if Shiva is a concept, I can tell you one thing, even if Shiva is a concept, the person who conceived that idea is unimaginable. It's such a wonderful concept, ultimate concept. Even if he is a concept, according to me, even if he is an imagination, the ultimate imagination are the ultimate expression of human consciousness. Somebody asked me, Swamiji, how do you know this book is written by Shiva? I told him, whether it is written by Shiva or not, one thing is sure, such a great truths, if it can come out of somebody, he is surely in Shiva consciousness. No doubt about it. If these great truths can come out of somebody means, he is sure he is in Shiva consciousness. No doubt about it. So whoever has written this book is worthy of being called as Shiva. He is in that state of Shiva. See, in Buddhism, whoever achieves enlightenment, they are called Buddha. It's a state, not a particular name. Same way, Shiva is also a state, not a particular person. Whoever achieves that state, they become Shiva. They become Shiva. So there is no need to confuse ourselves whether it is really written by Shiva or somebody wrote and added the Shiva's name. Who knows? Don't bother from where it is coming. One thing is sure, if such great truths can be explained, expressed, the person who expresses it is already in Shiva consciousness. The very expression shows the experience. He is beautifully, not only is accepting both the group, he is giving jumping pad for every being to take the quantum jump into the ultimate experience. Throughout the Shankara Bhashya, Brahma Sutra, at least 100 sutras are there which goes on condemning all other system. He has taken every system and cornered every system with his logic. And the same way Ramanuja, same way Madhva, any Acharya, but with Shiva, he is not condemning even a single system. I wanted to tell you one more thing. Even tribal religions like piercing the body, torturing yourself, that kind of even primitive tribe religions are also not condemned by him. He uses even those things as a technique to take a quantum jump. In the next further techniques, he discusses even those things. He is not condemning anything. He is collecting, he is like a unabridged dictionary of spiritual technology, of spiritual techniques. He has collected all possible methods to take the quantum jump into the ultimate consciousness, into the pure consciousness. He is not concerned about fights. He is not concerned about the differences. He is very simple, beautiful, pure intelligence. Small story. In one Vedanta bookshop, one volunteer was standing and explaining the books to the customers, other devotees who come there to buy books. One devotee went there and asked, there was a Sankara Bhashya and Ramanuja Bhashya, two books. Shankara's commentary on Brahma Sutra, Ramanuja's commentary on Brahma Sutra. These two books are created enough trouble in India. Not only these two books, of course, they have done a great service. But for these two books, the spirituality wouldn't have been alive in India. The same way, the equal amount of problems also they created. They did a big service and they created enough trouble, problems also. Anyhow, the volunteer, the customer who went to buy the books, he asked, "Sir, what is the difference between these two books? Because both are written Brahma Sutra." Volunteer said, "Oh, 45 rupees. The whole problem is just 45 rupees worth. Nothing else. When you start, the truth, it is not even 45 rupees worth. Anyhow, here Shiva is not bothered about the differences. He is straight away giving jumping pad for every being to take the quantum jump into consciousness. That is why I tell you, I think he knows about human beings. That is why what all problems can come, not only he has predicted the problems, he has given solutions also. All other prophets, all other prophecies, they only predicted problems, whether it is Nostradamus or any other. They only predicted problems. Shiva is the one and only master. Not only he predicted the problem, he gave the solution also. He gave the technology also to experience it.